Hey Seth, this is Andrew. Just wanted to respond to your question about bearing weight through the hand. How you doing? I'm behind the camera for this one. I may get on the table in a second. Just wanted to add on to my explanation that I posted on Patreon. So when you think about the way that the hand is placed in supporting weight, one of the things I mentioned in my reply was how you have to really consider the bones of the forearm. And so here we have the ulna, here we have the radius there, and here we have the ulna. And I'm going to pick these up and just bring them a little closer so you can see this distinction. Here's the tip of the ulna by the hand. You can see it doesn't really touch or come close to being an articular surface for the bones here in the wrist, because it terminates a little bit higher up. Now there are obviously all kinds of soft tissue and ligaments and muscular connections through there, but you can see how as you get closer and closer to the hand, the ulna gets very, very thin and narrow. But if you go up here to the elbow, you can see how the ulna is this almost like this wrench right into the elbow. Maybe I'll turn it this way so you can see that better. See that? This sort of spool of the humerus and the ulna just like a wrench fits right on there. So that is really the weight-bearing connection from the hand through the forearm into the upper arm, and then of course into the shoulder and the back. And that's the thing that I think most people, that's a blind spot for most people. So when a person does these kind of lessons where you stand the hand, very often, whoops, I've got the radius all screwed up here. Very often when they stand the hand, the truth is they may be actually, let me see if I can get my hand out of the way, collapsing the hand in this way. And that creates a funny kind of torque on the elbow and actually turns the ulna a little bit out. And as soon as the ulna is sort of winged out like this, you get this very interesting problem up here in the shoulder. And I'm going to move the camera so you can show you a better angle from up in there. Again, you can play with this on your own skeleton. But what happens is when the ulna wings out like that, essentially the head of the humerus starts falling in the glenohumeral joint. It starts to falling, and the other thing it often does is it often jams right up against the acromion, and that's the main direction that the person pushes or tries to find the stability and to move the shoulder blade. And over time that becomes a real problem, because that's not the habit you want to cultivate. You want to replace that with an understanding of where the actual support is taking place inside the shoulder and how the humeral head articulates on and around against the side of the shoulder blade there. So when the humerus is well connected, you've got this nice connection here at the ulna, and you don't let that slip out that way. That little change will make tremendous differences in the way the musculature fires and what has to tighten up and what can lengthen. So you really want to have the sense that that stays snugged in there. There are different ways you can do this. You can, of course, touch your own arm. You can reach under and touch your own arm so that you have this little notch on the elbow. You can palpitate that, and you can make little movements or pressings with the hand and just make sure that this isn't slipping out from under you. If we go back, let's step back a minute, and now that we've seen the ulna, right? We've seen how large the ulna is at the elbow and how it narrows as you get closer to the hand. If you look at the radius, it's the opposite. The radius is quite wide. Yeah, it's the surface upon which all of the bones in the wrist glide and slide as they move. And so it really provides the stability and the anchoring for all of the articulations of the hand. Plus, way up here at the elbow, the ulna, because it ends in this funny this disc, the ulna turns and rolls around, sorry, the radius turns and rolls around the ulna. And that's what gives you all of the movements in the hand that are used for dexterous kinds of movements and playing instruments and things like that. So when you stand the hand, when it's standing on the ground, I find you already know about how the arches work, and you already know you want to have a little bit of an arch underneath your hand. But again, just like the arches you make in the foot have to be, again, reflected and passed up through the rest of the leg, you really want to consider how clearly is your ulna connected into the upper arm, so that you're really getting this clear stability through the forearm, and then the shoulder can start to articulate. You know, what you really want to watch out for, I find very common, is this inner part of the ulna. For a lot of people, it just wings out. It wings out, and then they collapse into the hand that way. So you can play with these ideas where you're actually pulling or turning the ulna back just a little bit internally, and see how that changes your perception of the stability. Okay? So that's that. And I hope that wasn't too confusing. But if you have a skeleton, you can of course work on it, and just it'll inform your practice more and more. Okay, thanks so much for your question.